Stories. They offer adventures and worlds outside of our own, scenarios and life situations that we'd never experience otherwise, information and knowledge from minds all over the world. They give us the opportunity to deconstruct ideals and create situations that look hard at human emotions and the complexity of the mind. They take us on fantastical adventures or challenge the failings of humanity. They push the boundaries of our minds and really make us think. Stories offer something really unique, something to sink into and live inside of while exploring rich conversations and concepts. Let's Discuss is this series of video types that I do where I kind of just sit down and have a chat about something, about my love for books, about a type of story, I don't know, whatever. It's just a hangout and chat kind of video where we chat. And in this video, I'm kind of structuring it similarly to hard versus soft magic systems, where I'm not trying to pit two things against each other, but rather I'm trying to talk about the merit of each, their differences, their similarities, and my experience with them, and hopefully open the conversation for others to be able to do the same in the comments. So in this video, I kind of just want to have a discussion chatting about books and manga, two things that have been an incredible addition to my life. But before we get into all of that, a big thank you to today's sponsor, Bright Cellars, which is a company that I've worked with in the past that helps you to discover wine that you love. With Bright Cellars, you start by taking a quick 7-question quiz where they'll match you with wines from all over the world curated to your taste palette. They send the wine directly to you so you don't have to go to the liquor store and kind of guess at what you're going to like and hope for the best, which is exactly what I was doing before I tried Bright Cellars, and it almost never worked out. Each box comes with wine education cards for each bottle that outline tasting notes, suggested pairings, and best serving temperatures and origin. They also have satisfaction guaranteed, so their team helps you with any questions that you have. You can reach out to them to pause your subscription or to change the shipping address, or any questions that you have about the wine, they're there to answer. And each month your next box can change based off of how you've rated your wines, so they can continue to adjust to your taste. Plus, the packaging is completely recyclable, plastic-free, and the smallest carbon footprint in the industry. I had just about convinced myself that I just didn't like wine because of my very poor choosing abilities before working with Bright Cellars, but I have learned so much about what I enjoy in wine. I've learned that I pretty much can't go wrong with a red, though they're teaching me that there are rosés that I really like too. While we chat in this Let's Discuss, I'll be drinking Ochavado, which is a Spanish rosé, which is perfect for me because I was in the mood for something very fresh and crisp, and it's delicious. And if you use the link in my description, you get 50% off your first 6-bottle box, which brings the price down to $55 for 6 bottles of wine, which is pretty awesome. So check out Bright Cellars if you have interest in figuring out what your taste is in wine, or expanding what kind of wines you want to try, as well as supporting my channel. Thank you again to Bright Cellars for sponsoring this video. And now let's chat about books and manga. I've always been a novel reader, and stories have been such an important part of my life. I've gone on the grandest adventures and the most impossible adventures. I've lived experiences that I never would have been able to touch otherwise, and I've found comfort in some of the hardest parts of my life. There's something really magical about getting lost in a story and a world that's otherwise inaccessible, and doing it alongside characters that feel completely real and that you feel like you understand. And I've spent a lot of time on this channel making videos trying to talk about the benefits of reading, both emotionally and mentally, and trying to validate something that's oftentimes invalidated, because stories mean so much to me. And recently I've really fallen in love with the medium of manga as well. I made this channel, I created this channel specifically because I wanted reading to be not so much of a solo activity. I wanted to be able to talk to people about stories. I wanted to be able to have conversations about things that I'm reading. And the people that were subscribed to me kept coming back and saying, try manga, I think you'll love it too. And I was really unsure about it. I kind of had this idea in my head that with less words, it would be impossible to create the same depth to a story. But because I made this channel to talk to people about books, if my subscribers largely love something, I try really hard to love it too. I at least give it my best go. And with manga, I gave it my best go. I tried stories like Full Metal Alchemist, 20th Century Boys, and Death Note. I did not complete any of those series, though I do plan to revisit all of them eventually. And I liked it, but I never got hooked until I finally tried One Piece, and it took over my life and changed everything. In One Piece, I found a grand adventure, a world that I loved and wanted to explore alongside the characters, and characters that had loyalty and friendship and love for each other and personal character arcs that I just connected with on a level so deep, so similar to what I was experiencing from novels. So every reader is different. Everybody loves different things about stories, loves different aspects of stories. Some people love a really fast-paced, exciting, thrilling plot. Some people love very slow character studies, immersive worlds, complex magic systems, just a fun, fluffy ride. There's so many different things to love about stories. What I find that I love are really expansive, exciting visual worlds, really deep character work, and a study into their psyche, really themes-heavy books without being too on the nose, without being too, hey kids, here's what I want you to learn, but still where the themes are kind of wrapped into the story and the character arcs. And with that, some amazing adventures. I read to go on adventures that I couldn't go on otherwise, to explore different creatures and experiences and people that I wouldn't get to interact with otherwise. I read for the immersion, for the transportation. I feel like when I get really, really into a story, I go into a different world. The world around me kind of fades away and I'm transported somewhere that is otherwise impossible to me. And I get that with both mediums. Books offer a different type of immersion, especially if it is intentionally trying to be a more immersive story, if it has really beautiful prose and is really focused on kind of bringing the world alive. Oh my goodness, I love it. When I read a really immersive book, I feel like I can touch the atmosphere. I feel like I'm transported to the sea or the spirit world or whatever we're exploring that day. The atmosphere of the story almost feels like walls that are coming up around me and surrounding me, and that I can breathe this atmosphere in. Plus with books, I feel like I'm actually participating in the world building. The author creates the world and describes it to me, but it's my mind that creates it. It's my mind that builds up those walls, that makes it this tangible thing. And there's something really intimate and personal about participating in creating the visuals of a story. The author describes it to me, but my mind builds up those descriptions into something physical to me. And it's just a really different kind of immersion that feels like I'm actually breathing the world in. It's a really cool experience for me. With manga, it's a different kind of immersion, and it's one that I love as well so much. It's right there in front of me. And so as I'm reading about the story and learning about the world, as I'm reading the dialogue and getting information as I go along, I'm also seeing it. I get to study the imagery as I go, which is almost like poring over a map. We get maps in a lot of fantasy novels, but with manga, every step I take is an addition to the map, which as a map nerd has me, I love it. I love it. I feel like I'm actually walking through the world with the characters, and every time I turn the page, the world gets expanded a little bit more. Plus you get that really cool sensation of the page turn, where something is built up, and then when you turn the page, all of a sudden those ideals, those expectations come crashing down because you finally made it to the hunter exam. You finally made it to the thing that you've been working towards, and then you turn the page and you see just a room full of people that made it to, and your journey has only just begun. Plus, you get the added benefit of seeing characters' emotions, what they're feeling is right there on the page. And in so few words, I can see exactly the kind of emotional turmoil and pain or excitement and joy or fulfillment, whatever it is, I can see it right there, which makes it almost feel like it's leaping off the page to me. There are times where a character is going through the greatest devastation, or who's just been rescued, or has just had this incredible character moment of turning around this desire to die and thinking that they have no worth and no place in the world, and then screaming out that they want to live. It's just, oh. Being able to see the emotions on their face, being able to go through that emotional journey in such a personal visual way is something really, really unique that brings a very different type of immersion that I love. Characters are obviously one of the other greatest parts of stories for me. If I can have a book that has a lackluster plot but has characters that I know in and out and that are complex and unique and that I feel like I know, it's like I don't really care that the plot wasn't that great. Who cares? Did you see the characters? Books offer an understanding into characters that's really, really unique, where I'm not just reading the thoughts of a person, but I'm seeing into their psyche. I'm learning about what makes them tick, and every decision they make, I'm getting the real complexities of what went into that decision. And while the way you get that through manga is different, I would argue that, oh my goodness, is it there? One of my most hated yet favorite villains is in a manga. He makes me angry every time he's on the page. I'll just, I did a favorite villains video recently. His name's Doflamingo and I despise him. But I know that man. I know his backstory, I know his past, I know what makes him tick, I know the motivations behind why he does what he does. I get him, and it makes me mad that I get him because I hate him. But there's a depth that can be brought to characters in both types of stories. And while they're different, you get it in a different sort of way. It's all there. The artwork is sometimes able to say even more than words could, like this small village in Iceland that's never seen war is now about to enter into the glory of war, so they celebrate. And all around you have these people jumping in the air, shouting their excitement for wartime, and then in the middle you have the man who's seen war, standing there mourning what's to come because he's the only one that actually knows. Both of these things can be accomplished and are accomplished well in both mediums. In both mediums, these deep, complex character emotions and the complexities of the mind and the contradictions of the person, these all come to the forefront in such different ways, but both do it so well. And then there's themes. Man, I love stories that really want to have a discussion. They tell a really cool story. They have complex, interesting characters, but there's something to be talked about outside of the story that the story wants to present to you. Like a hard look at empathy in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and how humanity prides itself on empathy and wants that to be a core factor of humanity, but how easy it is for humans to become so selfish and inward facing, and the contradictions of humans that are striving for humanity but for the wrong reasons, and in reality still looking after themselves. That's a very simplified. Or a hard look at oppression and its effects and the cycle that continues if it isn't addressed in a very open and vocal way, and if something doesn't change, how that cycle continues in the Fishman Island arc of One Piece. Or long-lasting trauma and how what you go through in a time of war, in a time of conflict, and how that holds on to you and it sticks to you and it changes you, and it can unravel you in The Lord of the Rings. Or another story that gives a really hard look at war and humanity, and how much of your humanity are you willing to give up in times of unrest and to accomplish your goals, in the Chimera Ant arc in Hunter x Hunter. And I could go on, I'll stop, I could go on. But I love stories that have a really fantastic world, magic system, plot. But there's also themes that are woven into the magic and the plot and the world and the characters and what our characters are doing, that the author distinctly wants to discuss, and readers can engage with the story and just have a cool story, or we could spend hours and hours and hours discussing the themes. Man, I eat that stuff up. Oh, I just love it. I find it really interesting that no matter which medium I'm reading from, the things that I love and the things that I don't care about as much stay the same. The characters, the world, the themes, these things I find in my favorite stories of both mediums. Fight scenes, both in books and manga, it's not what I read for. They're cool, I don't mind them, as long as they are not like the only thing the story's doing. Cool, fight, have a fight, enjoy it. I will read it, and I will like it probably, but it will never be what I read a book for. And if the other stuff isn't really, really strong too, it will never be enough to, hype moments will never be the best thing for me. True in both mediums. Books and manga are both mediums that hold just a million different stories. You want romance, it's there. You want fantastical, incredible worlds, both epic worlds and really close-knit fantasy stories, it's there. You want sci-fi, they've got it. Literary fiction, you name it, in both mediums, you've got it. There's some not so great ones in both mediums, but oh, there are great ones. And I'm really focused on books and manga in this video because that's what I read, but all this could be said about graphic novels and comic books as well. Balancing books and manga has kind of reinvigorated my reading life ever since I've fallen in love with manga. It's really changed. It's just been like a breath of fresh air for me because both I've found are capable of being terrible and both are capable of having this ability to capture me and sweep me away, have this ability to take me on grand adventures and make me really think, have this relatability and the ability to make me just cry like a baby. But they both offer all those things in really different ways. They both present the same opportunities, but they do it differently. And because of that, bouncing back and forth between books and manga, it's like a reinvigoration. It's like a reset for your taste buds. It's just the same opportunities, but in a totally different way. So I feel like I'm constantly getting something fresh and new while always having the opportunity for something fantastic. I'm getting so many comments on my channel these days of people who found me because of manga and now they're reading novels again for the first time in years, or people who have always been novel readers and they're falling in love with manga. And it's been, I don't know, such a cool experience, such an honor to be able to, be a part of helping people discover more ways to love stories, because y'all were that for me. Recommending me your favorite stories or stories that you think that I would love based off of what I love in books, and being patient with me when I wasn't quite finding the right gateway manga for myself. And I've fallen in love with this whole new world of stories that has been so fun to include in my reading life. I'll never stop loving novels. I live and breathe for novels, but now I get to live and breathe for manga too, and it's so cool. And now getting comments of people who are discovering one or the other because I talk about both, because I love both, has been like, it's been so cool. This channel has always been about about, you know, I just want to talk about what I'm reading. It's always just been about me sharing my love for books and hoping that somebody will want to chat with me about them. And over this last year or so, melding the two together has been the best. It's been the best. So books versus manga. I'm gonna end this in the same way that I ended hard magic versus soft magic. Which one is better, books or manga? It's a dumb question. Ask another question. What do I want to read at the moment is really the question, because both offer the same opportunities, both offer the same amount of possibilities. And so it's just, which format am I in the mood for? And I love hopping back and forth between them because they offer similar things in different ways, which makes for some really awesome reading. But I would love to hear from you. The point of these Let's Discuss videos is the discussion. So what do you love? Do you prefer one or the other? Do you read more over the other? Ideally, even if you don't read both, even if you only read books or only read manga, I'd still really love to hear from you. What do these stories mean to you? What's your favorite part of reading, and how do you feel the most immersed? And I don't know, I guess I just want this to be a chat about something that I love, and hopefully you do too. So please continue the chat with me in the comments. What makes these stories so great for you? I'm really excited to read through the comments on this video because anytime we just get together and chat about a topic, I find that the comments are always so fun to read through. So please do continue chatting with me. I post videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on this channel, Tuesdays and Thursdays on the second channel. Be sure to check out Bright Sellers. I've loved working with this company. I've loved actually discovering wine that I genuinely enjoy. So be sure to check that out in the description of this video. I'll see you again soon. Bye.